Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. It's Jennifer, aka Jen Jen. I hope everyone is having a great week. Thank God it's Friday. I'm not sure if I'm ready for it to be Friday, but anyway, I am working on Who You Say I Am, and this was supposed to be weekly Friday book talk, or whatever, and I had a idea put forth to me, so I'm trying to decide how I'm going to make this work. Therese Addy came up with the suggestion to make it a book club talk, and I don't know how I'm going to make that work yet. I'm still trying to figure that out. I wasn't going to continue. Well, no, sorry. I'm not saying I wasn't. I was just trying to decide how I was going to do this video, if it was going to be a book talk video, if it was going to be a Friday end of the week chat video. And I kind of felt like, okay, you know, so I'm still kind of trying to decide, exactly what this is going to be every Friday. I do want it to be something a little different than what, normal drill with me is going to be. And because I know a couple of people have asked me, are you going to talk about uh, the books you read every week? And I need to verify. No, like I said in my last Friday's video, I don't read that fast. Um, Believe me, I don't. And especially when I'm listening to books, I don't listen. I don't sit here and binge listen to a book. It just doesn't happen. I mean, I'll sit and cross stitch and listen to a book or listen to a podcast, but I don't want to bore people either. So I'm just trying to decide how I'm going to make, you know, this work. I've sat and thought about it yesterday, trying to decide, okay, do I really want to, to continue doing a Friday drill with me or whatever. And I kind of like doing, it kind of, because I really technically had nothing kind of scheduled on Fridays. I did, but I didn't, if that makes any sense. And I used to have the book talk videos scheduled for Fridays, but I also, noticed that there weren't a lot of, views for that. So I kind of put it aside. And right now, I'm just trying to decide, how I want to move forth with this, because I don't want to, people to think, okay, well, this is all, she reads like, she's a robot. No, I don't. I don't read that fast. Uh, Far from it, believe me. I used to read that fast, but not anymore. So I'm just trying to decide, the book club idea. I kind of have some kind of an idea what I want to do. Um, like in one of the, talk about the books I've read, and then, have somebody, and at the end of the thing say, okay, what have you read this week? I've been thinking about doing it every month, but then, I thought, well, I kind of like doing, excuse me, the Friday whipping chats. So I'm just, I've been brainstorming. And I think that's why my brain hurts, because I've been having a really bad headache the last couple of days. And of course, my glue wants to be ignorant this morning. It's me. I'm still trying to, I'm experimenting with this patty wax. And Tiny Worlds of Wonder really, really helped with that the other day. I watched her video. I've been watching videos like crazy of people that have been using the patty wax and trying to get ideas. So, you know, trying to learn. And I'm still learning. But, I mean, I really, this is, believe me, this was a game changer. Trust me, it was. And I will never, ever, ever. So, so if you guys, you know, have any ideas about, you know, the how we, suggestions on, you know, the book club idea, please comment below. Any ideas, suggestions, any kind of things will help me, you know, figure out what I want to do, because I'm going to tell you, I am not a very creative person when it comes to stuff like that. I'm not. Believe me, I'm not. um, it's just, I don't know why. I've never been that kind of creative. Now, I can be creative when it comes to cross stitch, but I'm not, when it comes to trying to figure ideas on my own without any, you know, without some kind of input, I'm totally useless. So, you know, you guys can, you know, please comment below if you have any ideas or suggestions. I'd greatly appreciate it. So, I'm just going to go ahead and just talk about what's been happening the last couple of days. As you can see, I am a little under halfway. Halfway, I think, is probably dividing this next row in half, and I would say maybe halfway is like right here. On Who You Say I Am. I've been coming along really, really well on this one. For me, I'm shocked, and I'm shocked just because those of you that know me, I don't diamond paint very fast. I just, you know, I'll diamond paint for a certain amount of time, and then, oh yeah, I don't feel like doing this anymore. That's just how I am. Don't ask me why I am. I don't, yeah, I don't know why. And then I'll put it aside, and then for a couple of days, and then, oh yeah, I don't know if it's because I don't want to get burned out. I don't know. And I'm same thing when it comes to cross stitch. You know, I've put my cross stitch down for 2 years at a time, and just never picked it back up for like 2 years. And I'm trying not to do that, since, you know, I brought floss tube back to my channel in the last, you know, however long. And of course my drills are going to go on here crooked as all get go. I'm telling you. So, that's basically, and I'm more surprised with myself that I have gotten, now I forgot what color this is, and I can't find it. Oh, there it is. I have gotten this far, because I started this 2 weeks ago. So it's, you know, I'm just shocked that I've really stuck to this as long as I have. And I know it's not really big, a big one considering. So I do know that I have my next one in queue, which I unboxed last week, the Egyptian Queen one. So that's going to be next, because I've had a lot of people request that one. So and I want to do that one. So between you guys requesting it and me wanting to do it, that's the one I'm going to do. And then, of course, the one that I got from Kaya rows will be after that. So I do have a small one that I need to finish. That was a Saturday project that I worked on while chatting with friends of mine on video call. So that one will be the next one to finish because I'm going to the need all of these. I have these. I have the one that's, I think it's like 60 in here. So I'm gonna need all the little bottles. So that's, what I have planned. Um, Not really much is going on. I've been, listening to um podcast and watching movies with my daughter and her boyfriend. We watched a bunch of movies yesterday. Um, we watched, what did we watch? We watched Rampage with The Rock and Jeffrey Dean Morgan. That was a good movie. It was funny, but it was good. And then we watched, they watched. I didn't like the movie that they watched. It was Prince of Persia. We used to have that movie. I bought that movie for my daughter Miranda, and we don't have it anymore. But I bought it for her, and I watched it with her. And now I just I don't like it. Don't ask me why. I really don't. I just don't. I don't know why. I just didn't like it. I think it's because of all the snakes that were in it, and I'm terrified of snakes. And and those of you that are new to this channel that never heard that story before, and I don't know if any of you have ever heard that story before, so I'll just, go ahead and tell you about it now. When I was growing up, my dad was adding on to our house. And he had a big, huge stack of lumber in the backyard. So he went to move the stack of lumber closer to where he and there was a couple other people that were helping him build this addition to the house. And so they were moving the stack of lumber. Well, after the last, like, however many boards were on the ground, apparently underneath of these boards was a nest of baby snakes. So my dad did the humane thing, which, okay. They were black snakes. Well, my dad did the humane thing. Instead of killing them, because, my mother had deathly fear of snakes, he moved them to the field next to our house so that, they wouldn't be in the way. And I think he was worried about, whether or not, they would come and, whatever to the kids. So as he was moving this stack of lumber, he had gone, I don't even remember the whole, I don't even remember every detail of what happened that day. I just remember this next part. He come home, or whatever he was doing, and he was out in the yard, and my sisters and I were playing out in the backyard like we always did. And it was like during the summer. And all of a sudden, I hear my dad tell my mother to get us out of the yard, to go in the house or wherever. So we ended up, my parents' house was surrounded by field, if that makes sense. There was field on this side and there was fields on this side. So we ended up in the field on the other side of the house. And you could see what was happening in the yard. So, and I didn't really understand what was going on at the time. Well, the next thing I know, I'm assuming, and this is how I know what I know, because, you can't help, this is why, I guess, this happened. This big, huge black snake. I'm not talking big, huge as in, 3 or 4 foot. I'm talking big, huge mama black snake. And of course, to me, it might not have been that big, just because, I was probably like 10 or 11 at the time, or even smaller. I can't really remember my age, but I just remember this day vividly in my mind. And he ran to the workshop, brought out this pitchfork, and anyway, he ended up basically fighting the mama snake. She realized that her nest was gone or had been moved, and she got mad. And now, you all might think I'm exaggerating when I say this next part, but this is what I can remember clear as day as I'm sitting here looking at my computer screen. She literally got up on the tail of her tail and stood directly up at my dad, and my dad fought her, literally. And what I found out later was that he wasn't really fighting her. He was trying to get her to wrap herself around the pitchfork but not hurt herself, so that he could put her in the field with her babies. Now, mind you, I'm this little child seeing something completely, totally different. And ever since then, I've had this big fear of snakes. So, I think that's one reason, that's how that came about. And I think that's one reason why I never liked watching Prince of Persia or any other movie that had snakes in it. Because I scream bloody murder. And I used to have nightmares like crazy about snakes. And that happened after, he got her out of our yard. And unbeknownst to us, she lived in that field with her babies for the longest time. And she used to make her presence known just to let my dad know, oh, I'm still here. And she did it one time. And my mother had left the house. And I was there. I had come over that day for I don't even remember now why. I was older. I was an adult and wasn't living at home. And I think I was married at the time. I don't even remember, to be truthful. And anyway, my mother had gone to get ready to go somewhere. She came out. Now, we're not sure if this is the same snake, but again, So my dad had come to the point where he started laying poison down to stop them from coming in the yard. Any kind of snake. It didn't matter what kind. Stop them from coming in the yard. And it worked. Or at least, we thought it worked. So one day, and I happened to be in the house, and I was, I don't even remember I think I was doing my laundry, because at the time I didn't have anywhere to do my laundry where I lived. And all of a sudden, and my dad was doing something around the house. And all of a sudden, I hear my mother turn around to come back into the house to get her wallet because she left her wallet, her pocketbook, on the dining room table. And all of a sudden, I hear my mother scream bloody murder at the top of their lungs for my father. Well, like the dum-dum that I am, I followed my dad outside. And she looked at my dad and she says, "Didn't you tell me that you got rid of all the snakes?" Dad said, "Yeah." And the first words out of my mother's mouth was, "She's back." And I couldn't figure out what she was talking about. Mind you, by this time I'm like 20, 21, 22, 23 years old. And Dad's like, "Well, what do you mean?" And she says, she looks, she says, she points to the top of the door. Now, mind you, door, and somehow or another, now did this, I'm don't know how they do this, don't care. Like I said, I don't like snakes. This snake had taken itself and wrapped in, literally was laying on top of the door frame, just sitting there. And I turned around and I looked at my father and I said, "Have fun with that." And I went inside and I stayed there. I don't like snakes. So, Prince of Persia had a couple, I don't want to say a couple, but it had snakes in it. And I chose not to do that. Hold on, please. Hello. All right, bye. Um, so sorry about that. Was my older son telling me he's coming home. Okay, whatever. Um, so anyway, ever since then, anytime I see a movie that has snakes or a picture or anything, I freak out. I just don't like snakes. They've never done anything to me. I've never been accosted by one or whatever you want to call it. I just, I just have this very horrible fear of snakes. So when, she was watching this movie with her boyfriend yesterday, I just, I don't like snakes. That's all I can say to that subject. But and I've always had a fear of them ever since then. Ever since that, that incident with my dad and the snake, and him moving the nest, which in a way, like he knew he shouldn't have done that, but then again, he was trying to be somewhat humane about the whole situation. But I can see why he moved it. I just don't like snakes. Just never have. Never will. It's just, and I don't think anybody else in my family does either. I can't really, sit here and say, "Oh yeah, that's the case," because I'm not really, really, really sure. Um, just because I don't know how, really. I just don't know because I've never really, sat down and asked them. Sorry, I'm trying to get my next section somewhat to a point that I can work on it. Because, yeah. So, other than that, I mean, that's, why I don't wish movies with snakes in it. I just can't. So while they watch that, I read, listened to podcasts, um, And that was basically what I did while they watched that. And then we watched Robin Hood, the newer Robin Hood. The I can't remember what his name is. It's not Russell Crowe. I don't think it is. I can't remember what his name is to save my butt. Um, um, I don't remember what his name is. I really, really, really don't. And that's bad when you don't remember what the man's name is. Um, I don't remember what his name is. My daughter can probably tell me if or I can look back on, I can look on the thing, but I don't really remember what his name is. He's a big actor. That's all I can remember. I can't remember if it's Russell Crowe. I don't. I think it was the same guy that was in Gladiator. I want to say Russell Crowe, but I'm not sure. I'm not going to sit here and say it is because I don't remember. So, yeah. So that was, what we did yesterday. Um, and I cross-stitched. And that was basically the gist of our afternoon because her boyfriend had off from work yesterday. So, he came over early and we all sat and watched that. Then we watched Resident Evil, the last chapter. I like Resident Evil. Always have. That's just, I liked it when it first came out. And started watching it when it first came out. And I have all the movies except for the last one, which is the last chapter. So I've got to find it, see if I can find it, and get it to complete the whole thing. But yeah, we watched that. Then we really didn't do much after that. We just kind of, that was basically the last movie we watched before he had to go home. Yeah, because he went home right after that. But yeah, those kind of movies I like. Do I like, zombie movies? Not really. But this one, the Resident Evil movies weren't so bad. So, because it kind of, it had a storyline. Not saying that, all of the other ones didn't. This one was more, you know, I guess interesting. And I like Mila Djokovic, or whatever her name is. I guess that's her name. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. So that was a pretty good movie. They all were. It's just, I wish they would have elaborated on, certain aspects of the movie, but oh well. So other than that, let's see what else. Oh Lord, it's hard to decide. See, this is why I was trying to decide if I wanted to continue doing a Friday video, because then I run out of things to talk about, and I don't want to go back over what happened over the week because, you know. All right, we'll just go to the weekend. This weekend is going to be kind of, one of those lazy weekends because I have been kind of fighting a headache for the past couple of days. And it's not a real bad headache. It's a dull thing. And it's eased up now, but earlier. I mean, I still feel kind of, out of it from the headache, but earlier, like right up here was bothering me. And I just kind of made the, whatever you call it, the command decision, I guess that's what you want to call it, that I really wasn't going to stress out a whole lot this weekend. I was just going to actually just sit and hibernate, which I try to do every weekend. Um, just because that's, the boys do what they want when they come home, and they go and hide themselves, in my room or in his room, their room, and really don't, do a whole lot um, with them during the week. So it's kind of one of those things. And yes, I'm rolling it. My little roller that I got from Wish. And it works. Granted, it's from Wish, but it works. So, I'm just going to do, tomorrow's going to be Diamond Painting Marathon. And then I'm going to cross stitch all the rest of the weekend. Oh, I will cross stitch today after I do this. But that's basically what my weekend's going to look like. Because I just don't feel like dealing with stuff. I have one issue like today, or in the last couple of days, and I think that's another reason why I've had a headache. Justin is kind of in, I don't know how to explain it. He's been down in the dumps, but he's also had an attitude. And I've let it slide, but yesterday I kind of, put my foot down. Granted, I get it. He's 18. He's an adult, technically, even though he's still in high school. And I've tried to explain this to him. You can't really sit here and decide what you're going to do because you're still under my roof, and you're still technically, a child because you're still in high school. And I've tried, I don't know how to explain this. I've been a little bit more laid back with him lately, as in, when he wants to go somewhere, he tells me where he's going, when he's leaving, and what time he's coming back. And if he's late, he texts me. Okay. But as for anything else, like, telling me, what's going on with him, anything like that, he doesn't talk to me. And I really didn't know anything was wrong until yesterday. And I can't even remember what brought it on. Oh, he came out and he looked at me and he says, something got brought up. And I don't remember what. But something got brought up. And I looked at him and I said, what? And he says, I'm just the last one to know everything. I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? And anyway, he says, I need to take a walk. I was like, what? Now, mind you, he had a migraine yesterday. So that was part of his problem. And I said, dude, you've got a migraine. Okay. Well, I need to go for a walk. Okay. What's going on? And he doesn't like to tell me things. And he finally told me before he left. Those of you that remember me talking about his girlfriend that he had before Christmas that he had for like almost 2 years. She and him broke up right before New Year, even though, she didn't tell him she had somebody else do it. But anyway, he, the reason that she broke up with him was, she needed to, get settled where she was, and that, after, she got settled into the school she was in and all that kind of junk, then, she could basically focus on their relationship. I guess that's how that's being put. Now, mind you, I'm 50. I've been around the block a little bit. So I kind of had a feeling that that wasn't the reason. I had a feeling. And I didn't voice my feeling because, I didn't want to make him mad. And I didn't want him to, get all defensive and try to say, no, that's not the case, blah, blah, blah. So I kept my mouth shut. There are battles that I have learned that you cannot win. And there are certain battles that, you can only win at certain points with, teenage boys, especially hormonal teenage boys. So I just left it alone. So when he told me yesterday that she had found a boyfriend after after she told him that, she just need to step back for a few. Okay. So I didn't say anything. I didn't like say I told you so or anything like that. I was like, well, how do you know? And he told me. He says, one of my best friends. And I was like, okay. Well, he's been talking to her about it. So one of your best friends, who's supposed to be your best friend, and knew about this before you. Yeah. Okay. So, I could tell he was mad. And I was like, well, going out and, with a migraine and going wherever is not going to solve the situation. I need to get out of the house. I need to go talk to, he's got a best friend that he talks to. And that isn't, that's kind of neutral in the whole situation. And I was like, whatever. So he left here. And I'm thinking, okay, after he's gone to talk to her, he'll calm down and kind of be okay. So he came in around 3:30, 4 o'clock yesterday. And I knew he was still in a mood. And I don't even if I said something, I really wouldn't know what to say. I've been there. I know what it's like. And so he's not been wanting to go to school. And I told him, today, or last night actually, I said, you have to go to school. I said, you can't miss another day. And he just looks at me. He's like, why? And I said, well, because of this new attendance policy that they have in effect, that they put in effect this year, you have to go. Well, I don't care if I fail. Really? Now, mind you, this is an honor roll student. And I just looked at him. And I told him, I said, well, you're going. And, I can't, granted, yes, he's 18. I get it. Technically, he doesn't have to, listen to a word I say. But he was like, why? And I said, number one, I know you're down in the dumps. I get that. And I said, but, you're not going to sit here and mess up your education because, you are feeling some kind of way. And he kind of just looked at me like, are you effing kidding me? And, I told him, I said, I totally understand where you're coming from. And he's like, well, what could you possibly know about my situation? Really? So I looked at him and I said, your mother was not always the perfect child. I said, you can ask your grandparents. I said, I wasn't. And they know I wasn't. So, but I've had relationships that didn't work out either. So I totally get what, is going on with you. And I said, mind you, yes, this is your first ever, real serious relationship that you had. I get it. Trust me. Been there, done that. I know what it's like. And I said, but you need to understand something. Not all of the first relationships work out. And, you know, he, I tried to be understanding because that's what I'm supposed to be. And, he turned around and he's like, "But you're different." I was like, "What? How do you mean I'm different?" He says, "Because." Okay. So I didn't really ask him to elaborate on that because I have no clue what he meant. So I let it go because you don't really know what to say. And I tried to, I didn't want to go ahead and say, oh yeah, but there's other fish in the sea, because then that would have just totally made it. And I kind of came out with, and I broke this down as nicely as possible. And I said, I get it. That's your first real relationship. She was your first everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything. Sex wise, also. So it just, and I told him, I said, it's going to take you a while to get over that. And I said, but you need to realize something. Um, I said, again, not every first relationship that you ever have where, you've had a first love like that is going to work out. I said, mommy's didn't. I said, your sisters sure as hell didn't. And I said, and both your sisters and their relationships like that never lasted. So, it's not, and I told him, I said, I'm not saying this to be negative. And I said, but just understand that. And I think what really got him was because he had been asked at some point, because she moved to South Carolina, and her mother wanted him to come live there too. And so when she moved, and before Christmas, there was an understanding that he would go down there and live with my daughter, Ariel, which she lives in North Carolina. And I think she's in like 3 hours, 4 hours away from where, you know, uh, Josie lived. And, that way he was closer and it wouldn't be so bad. And I told him, I said, not only that, I said, long distance relationships are very, very hard. And I said, they're not easy to, maintain, whatever. And of course, I think he heard me, but I kind of felt bad for him. I still do. I mean, because his heart's broken. He's down in the dumps. He's got an attitude from hell. And there's really nothing I can do except be there. So, like just a few minutes ago, he called me and told me he's coming home. You can tell by the sound of his voice. His attitude, it sucks. And there's something to be desired there. But I can also tell that he's just not feeling it. And I think, and I haven't sat him down and had a long conversation. So I think when he gets home, I'm going to sit him down and I'm going to say, look, dude, and just do what mommy does. Or try to, if he'll let me. I don't know. Hopefully, I don't know. I'll see what he's like when he gets home. He didn't tell me how he was getting home. He just told me he was coming home. So we'll see. I'm not sure what. And I'm not sure who's bringing him home. So we'll see. But I will. Because I don't know what else to say or do to him that, do for him. I mean, to be truthful, I'd really like to smack his best friend, Deltario, because he didn't bother to say anything. And I don't know. I'm just trying to understand why it was kept from him. And I don't know. I'm just going to have to sit down and get more information to find out what's going on. And I keep moving the camera because apparently, there we go, I'm not in camera. So, other than that, guys, there's really not much else to tell. But I will be having my normal live on Sunday. So I will see everybody then. And I hope everyone has a great weekend. And thanks for listening and watching.